Thank you very much, James, and good afternoon, everyone. It's me yet again. So I suspect every single person in this room is involved in some form of business change or digital change, either in their organisation or working for an organisation that is going through that process. I also suspect that every single person in this room is investigating or already applying some form of AI pilot or actual tool, either in their personal life or in their business life. And I would also suspect that every single person in this room is constantly pursuing the opportunity for efficiencies within their business or their employment. And government in that sense is no different. We are doing all of this as well. So this time last year, the Chief Minister announced the drive for efficiencies with an ambition to identify and deliver over 10 million of efficiencies and savings, which was excluding healthcare, given they have their own programmes underway. Government has already been investing in transformation and has years of experience in investing in digital capability in particular. But this announcement marked a step change in ambition, coordination and direction. The programme was established, reporting to the Operational Performance and Change Board, and whilst it is wide-ranging, it has technology and productivity at its core. It was to focus on the here and now, 2025-26 year in particular, but marks the start in a continuous change programme that will need to continue for years to come. To start with, we set about identifying the scale of opportunities across the Isle of Man Government organisation. And there are significant opportunities. We maintain over 1,000 systems, and yet we also spend around £800,000 each year in paper and postage, and make and receive over 5 million calls each year, supporting the public every hour of every day. We spend a significant amount working with partners in procuring goods and services each year and maintain a significant amount of properties, over 1,800 assets across the organisation. We oversee a significant and hugely important workforce with so much diversity, and yet across our 7,500 to 8,000 or so staff, the absence costs alone amount to over £14 million each year, and we are still recruiting over 800 people each year, principally due to general turnover. But this one fact alone sets our tone in how we can reduce the organisation size and cost over coming years by reducing the rate at which we replace staff. And we also have over 200 core services, over 600 sub-services. And while there is a significant amount of change underway at a service-by-service level, we have not had a consistent and coherent change programme in place for some time. Well, that has now changed. There is also significant experience across all 5 of our key assets, so digital, contracts, assets, people and services. So it crosses across those 5 main themes. We have established a significant, coordinated, transparent change programme across the organisation in order to try and realise this ambition, to identify and deliver a minimum of £10 million of savings and efficiencies this year, leading to a minimum of £50 million in savings and efficiencies over the next 5 years, set against a very clear purpose: to improve how government works, so that public services are simpler, faster, more cost-effective and better for everyone in the Isle of Man. So to tell us more about the programme, where we are and what we can expect to see coming forward, he's been trailed already by James. Can you please welcome our new Chief Executive, or not so new, but taking on the post for longer, Mark Lewin.
Thank you, Minister, and Fastamai, everyone. It's an absolute privilege and pleasure and an honour to stand in front of you all today as the Chief Executive for the Isle of Man Government. I know I said it at the time when I was appointed back in April. I really did mean it then, and I mean it now. Growing up on our amazing island, great opportunities in life that the island has given me, and when I became a public servant back in 2012, it really did mean something then. These last 12 years have been remarkable and rewarding in so many ways. When I took the role up in April, the Chief Minister was really clear that the pursuit of efficiencies and savings was one of our top priorities for the organisation. There were many, but this was absolutely one of them. We talked to the Chief Officer Group and we all agreed absolutely it was. For those who know me, you will know that working in the field of technology and digital transformation has been a real passion and a topic that fascinates me and excites me. It's been a feature in almost everything I have done over the last 40 years. Over this time, I've been fortunate to work with some amazing people on some incredible projects within the private sector and within the public sector on and off the island. But I've never been as excited as I am now looking at what's happening around us, looking at the opportunities that it presents. We are on the cusp of some truly amazing potential and seeing exponential growth all around us. We must and we will harness this for the good of everyone in our island, for our public services, for our economy, for our society. We must do this also in a responsible way, though, by bringing everyone we can with us on this journey, and that is something we are also committed to doing. Building on what the Minister said, our focus is very much now on the here and now, identifying and delivering a minimum of £10 million this year. And importantly, this is looking at how we provide services, not necessarily what they are. Increasing this to over £50 million over the next 5 years, hopefully far more in a meaningful transformation, and in doing so, simplify our services and the whole experience. That's for government itself and for the public that we serve. In doing so, we will also control and reduce the overall cost of our future public service. For a small island, we have an incredible breadth of public services we provide across an amazing array of people. We are committed to maximising the best value for everyone on what we provide. We absolutely need to take every opportunity possible to ensure that every one of our frontline services, our vital staff, and indeed support staff that all play a hugely important part, all have efficient and effective services that allow them to fulfil their maximum potential to provide meaningful services and outcomes for our island for years to come. That is why, working with staff, we set about the largest coordinated and consistent change programme we've seen in years, across 5 themes: digital, using the power of technology to simplify and transform services and outcomes; contracts, extracting the maximum value possible from our partnerships and our purchasers; assets, optimising the assets we really do require, whilst carefully disposing of those which we don't; people, leveraging our greatest asset, our people, to fulfil their full potential; and services, in reviewing and reimagining the services we provide for today's needs. We've made a solid start to this journey. Since my interim appointment back in April, we set out to improve how government works so that the public services are simpler, faster, more cost-effective for everyone. We set out a 4-stage approach to refresh the Operational Performance Change Board. You'll hear more about that, and one of our non-executive directors is joining us on the panel, who now review performance across the organisation each and every month, and also are able to approve business cases rapidly. To readjust our central capability by reprioritising things we were working on, initiatives and resources, and in a number of areas strengthening our capability and readiness for more change. We wanted to involve more and more of our people. This has started, for example, with over 110 suggestions now being received and reviewed. We've had workshops, we've involved many, but we need to do a lot more. There is much more to do in this space, harnessing the power of our whole workforce as we review and transform our services. And looking to the future, at the start of this, we set out a new concept, a digital processing centre, that over time offers us real clear potential for a new greenfield service that will sweep up administration services across government and reimagine and relaunch these for the public, harnessing the value of today's technology and artificial intelligence in particular. And in doing so, deliver a much simplified customer experience and, importantly, at a much reduced cost. I've been asked quite a bit about the principles of what's in and what's out, and at the start of this, with the Operational Performance Board, we set out some very clear principles. What we said, it must be sustainable, what we are doing. This is not about short-term gains at the expense of the long term. Clearly, it must be sustainable, We have other strategies and considerations we need to take into account. It must be responsible, linked to our broader agendas. They must be real. We're looking for meaningful change, cashable savings. Yes, there will be some simple efficiencies, but we are absolutely pursuing real savings. And it must be transparent. Much of what government does, we are committed to transparency, and this is no different. We will report regularly on our progress. And finally, they should be enabling. At this stage anyway, we are supporting all the departments in coming forward with issues, with ideas. At the beginning of this financial year, there was around 25 million of stretch baked into the existing budget, and part of what we've been doing is discovering and enabling how departments can respond to that. So that's a significant challenge, and that's one we've been embracing. The start of this calendar year, very much progress was around making sure the Operations Performance Board was up and running, readjusted. Some initial funding was allocated so we can make decisions quickly. Business cases could be approved. They have been. There's been some work underway. Central programme was mobilised, putting resources at the centre, setting up the governance structures and preparing for what was to come. And some of those discovery workshops I mentioned out with people around the whole organisation to understand what the art of the possible really was. In the first quarter of this financial year, April to June, that programme steering group is absolutely fully up and running. I said staff suggestions are coming in significantly. We've set up a dedicated SharePoint site within the organisation so our whole workforce can see what is happening, what is to come. We've done more workshops around more topics, looking at, again, at what the potential future could look like. And as you saw last week, we produced our first quarterly report, a start of a journey which we're committed to in terms of that ongoing transparency. And that report briefly says that we are now tracking, or we were at the end of June, tracking around £7.4 million of potential savings identified. With over 100 projects and initiatives underway, all departments now have some form of efficiencies programme, have some form of projects locked in, and all work streams, those 5 work streams, all have some form of projects or initiatives locked in. We'd received over 80 staff suggestions at that point, and against the business cases that we'd approved, we had around 15 million, so still some way to go, but a start towards our £50 million overall ambition. In this first quarter, much of it was about setting the foundations, discovering what was underway, and bringing that to the table for transparency. It's worth saying that this number and these numbers does not include health and social care, as the Minister said. We heard yesterday a really informative presentation from Manx Care and DHSC about what they are doing. They too have an efficiencies target this year of about £11 million, and they're currently tracking about 2.6 in the first quarter. So very much what we talk about is the rest of government as part of that. In terms of October or September, where we're up to, in October we will release our second quarterly report, and by way of some flash figures on what we're currently seeing, we are now tracking at around £10.4 million of potential savings and efficiencies. The number of initiatives and projects identified has risen to about 167, and we've accelerated our delivery with 35 initiatives now marked as completed. But to be clear, many of these are relatively simple things, relatively minor. Some of them are one-off. We touched upon that yesterday. But what we do have now is a substantial programme. We have the governance in place. We have resources mobilised. We have a different way of regularly, every month, looking at where we're up to and how we are proceeding in terms of transformation. Kind of to bring this to life a little bit about some of our priorities over the next 6 months. Clearly, I said at the outset, digital and technology, AI, really, really important. They're at the heart of some of this in terms of our long-term transformation. AI enablement, so only the last couple of months, the Cabinet Office finished a trial using Microsoft Copilot. About 100 people were going through that and reported on average between 30 minutes and 60 minutes savings per day. When you scale that across an organisation the size of the public service, clearly not everyone sits behind a desk. We have a huge amount of frontline workers, but that's an enormous opportunity in that space. We've continued that. We now have 200 plus people interacting daily in terms of discussing the use of AI across the public service. The announcement yesterday by the Chief Minister in terms of the National Office for AI Development, Regulation and Security clearly is part of that journey as well. We last month also launched a OHR, our human resources chatbot, George, he's called, or she's called, and really to help staff find information quickly, the start of a process of deploying these tools right across the organisation. Our technologists are also now using low-code platforms, building things in days and weeks that ordinarily would have taken months, and in some cases, years. And we are skilling the whole organisation in being able to use some of these tools through the likes of Power Academy, so people being able to, across our organisation, not only call out where they see changes, but being able to then be involved in the active redevelopment of that. Gov.im is a platform that sits in that space, and clearly over time we expect more change, and I will touch on that in a minute. One of the projects we've been progressing for some time, drivers and vehicles, we've been putting more and more online in that space, but we see a real opportunity in that space just to step back and reimagine. I talked about reimagining what the future could look like. Looking at it from the customer's perspective outside in and bringing everything into one place, making it much more streamlined, much more accessible, removing paper and really transforming it. We see that as a real opportunity, but there are many of those over the coming years. In terms of contracts, we have now centralised and brought into one place visibility on all of our contracts. It sounds a really basic thing. We have a real strong procurement capability centralised, but the contracts have been devolved across the organisation. By bringing them into one place, by putting some expert assistance around that, we believe we can really look at and harness some real value from our partnerships that we have in place. We will prioritise the review of those major contracts, and we'll also increasingly use technology in that whole process, including things like automated checks when we award contracts. Some of this it's not about charging people more, but it is about where we see and we collect money, we do it better, more effective, more efficient. In terms of assets, again, perhaps a simple thing. The Minister said we have a huge amount of assets across the organisation, devolved. We are now on a project to bring those into one place. Treasury are leading on that. Again, with expertise, as we look at particularly our really important assets and make sure we get the best value possible out of those, but also realising some assets which we simply don't need. They cost us money to hold, to heat, to light, to the rates, the insurance, and actually can be put to better use in our society or in our economy. We will continue that. In terms of people, and Minister again talked about controls before. They are our most important, most valuable asset. We have, since January, put far more focus on the controls in place around the public service. Recruitment control framework means that every single new job has to go through a panel, has to be assessed, and the replacement roles above a certain level equally have to do that. And we report once a quarter, overseen by the Operational Performance Board. We are committed to transparency in terms of that quarterly reporting. And we've had a real focus on things like vacancies and just looking at what the organisation needs. Over the last 2 months, around a third of all vacancies in the organisation have been removed. We still have some work to do in that space, looking at what the organisation needs to look at in the future, and clearly it's changing. But that's why the reporting and the transparency is really important. We have now launched a people strategy, 5 themes in year 1. It talks about efficiencies, it talks about recruitment, it talks about engagement, and it puts public service, the ethos of public service, at the heart of the organisation. We will go through those important actions this year. And enablement, I talked about upskilling the organisation. We've got far more to do in that space in terms of readying the organisation for change that inevitably is coming. And in terms of services, this opportunity to step back and reimagine. One of the projects that again is being run by Treasury is around priority-based budgeting. It will look at into the future and be a tool for future in terms of where we allocate money, so around the what government provides. But it's also a platform of having in one place a very clear explanation and a review of how we provide it. Is there a better way of providing it? And we'll provide a real candidate for things that can be done better. We will work through some of those top priority services. I mentioned drivers and vehicles. There are other ones that touch us all as citizens and as businesses regularly. We are absolutely scaling up our capability to transform those. And the digital processing centre, which I mentioned before, that can sit across some of this and sit across some of this organisational structure, so it makes it much simpler to access and to interact with government. The digital opportunities clearly are immense. I said that at the outset. And we are absolutely on the cusp of a huge revolution. Everyone's saying similar things. I remain fascinated and hugely inspired by what's happening each and every day. And we are absolutely still at the heart of this revolution. We will bring all this together, though, in a new redesigned platform, and it offers us really a huge potential. Not just, clearly, we're talking about digital and AI. We've had conversations yesterday around robotics and life sciences, and we'll hear more about that later on this afternoon. But just keeping on the theme of digital, in terms of government or gov.im, over the coming months, we will see radical changes in this space. We've been working on a refreshed and refocused platform, one which will have a much cleaner, simplified and relevant interface, and importantly, one which will have AI embedded as an assistant to support people when they are trying to navigate, interact and engage with government. We will have a new consolidated search feature. It's actually live at the moment, which rather than just giving you pages of responses, summarises what it thinks you are looking for. And in time, we'll go further to actually help you do the thing you are asking for. We will improve the way that citizens and businesses can interact with government. Citizens in particular, where we already have things that you carry around in your pockets by way of authentication, use those more and more where it's relevant to the services that government is providing at that point. And the thing we all carry around, many of us carry more than one, improving that whole mobile experience and bringing it into one place, again with AI at the heart of what we do, to make it really easy to deal with government, and in doing so also reduce substantially the cost of that transaction, that support. I say technology and productivity absolutely is the heart of our transformation, but it's one of the whole programme, one theme. We will continue to look at across digital, across contracts, around assets, around our people programme, and around our services. Working together in a single but substantial change programme, one which offers us an immense opportunity for the future and for the long term. We will need to step carefully through this, I have no doubt of that. We have a great responsibility to curate the future services in a way which are inclusive, simple, and yet secure. We have a responsibility to be honest with our workforce and with the public in understanding the impact these changes will have. Because there will be changes, there always have been, but there will be more in the near future than we've seen before at that pace. Which is why the controls that we have in place in terms of recruitment are vital. Slowing down and being really careful when it comes to recruitment is critical to minimising the impact on the organisation as we go through large-scale change. We must involve our people, and we will. They too have real frustrations across not just administrative roles, but right across the frontline services. We can see them each and every day. We will, and we need to ensure we maximise the potential in how we deliver public services for the long term. And which is why the commitment to the likes of the National AI Office for Development, Regulation and Security is also of critical importance in terms of harnessing knowledge in this room, harnessing knowledge in our community, our business community, as we navigate through this in a careful and controlled way to realise the potential whilst also being alive to the peril. And continue to scale our programme in a coordinated and transparent way, and with working with the community on the island, including many in this very room, I genuinely do believe we will absolutely realise our vision to improve how government works so that public services are simpler, faster, more cost-effective and better for everyone on our island. Thank you.